how to deal with your partner's homophobic family. This is something that comes up so frequently in my one-on-one coaching sessions. And the reality of the situation is this is more prevalent than you may think, right? Growing up as somebody who identifies as bisexual, I have had my fair share of, homophobic individuals within my family and navigating that and coming to terms and understanding that whatever their beliefs, whatever their perceptions, whatever their thoughts are around my choice and my lifestyle, right, has nothing to do with me. That is not my responsibility. It is completely on them and potentially has to do with whatever fears, insecurities, beliefs that they have allowed themselves to conform to. And we have a tendency of taking that on as our own responsibility. And the question is why? And one of the major reasons for why is because, again, it's a common theme here. We want to be accepted. We don't want to be rejected. We want to feel as part of the group and of the community and all of those things, particularly when it comes to your own family. So if there is somebody within your family that does not accept you for who you are, that can be very triggering and that can be difficult to cope with because you just want them to understand that you are still the same person. You are still the same individual they've always known. You have the same beliefs. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you have bad core values. It's just your choice of lifestyle, who you choose to be with. We can't choose our sexuality. We can't decide one day that if we are heterosexual, we want to be homosexual, or we want to, vice versa. It's something that we essentially, and this might be a biased belief because it's my particular belief, but I believe it's something that we are born with. It is something that we identify with. It's just we don't necessarily know what that is at such a young age until we're able to identify with it down the line, right? Which is the process of coming out and accepting who we are and really understanding what our place is within our own individual communities. So that being said, how do we deal with a partner's homophobic family if that's something that you have already dealt with and that's something that you have not maybe experienced in your own personal life, in your own family? The first thing that we do is we have to be empathetic. I highly recommend taking a step back and thinking to yourself, okay, my partner did not choose their family, right? Now we can choose our extended family, right, which is our friends that we choose within the community if we're not accepted within our own family, but they did not choose their blood family, and they are probably struggling as well with the feelings of rejection and not being accepted and that sadness around that particular subject. So if it makes you uncomfortable and then you in turn are making your partner feel uncomfortable about it, that's not a recipe for a healthy relationship. That's not a recipe for a long-lasting, sustainable relationship. So empathy is incredibly important. Put yourself in your partner's shoes. They cannot control their parents' mindset and therefore have likely grown up repressed and ashamed. It is not their fault. And the second thing to take into consideration here is being patient. Give your partner some time to muster up the courage to stand up for themselves and the relationship. It's not for a lack of desire, but it's a fear of rejection. And look, I'm not telling you that you have to stay in this relationship if you don't feel like you are being prioritized or that you can fully be yourself because your partner is still dealing with repression and coming out and all of those types of things, which is a completely different subject as well, because coming out is a very, very, very important piece to the puzzle here. It's really just about taking a step back, checking in with yourself emotionally and mentally and seeing if you are okay moving forward in this relationship. And if you are not, that is also okay. If it's something that's, triggering your insecurities, then it's either you have a conversation about it and you guys create particular guidelines and you have clarifying conversation to really unpack those emotions and those feelings, or you walk away from the relationship because it's just not a good fit for you. And again, that's okay, but it's also about how you walk away. It's how you present the information. We always want to try to remove ourselves from a relationship in an amicable way. So again, patience. Just give your partner some time. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to give them time indefinitely, right? Because you're wanting to progress in the relationship and you're wanting to grow and you're wanting to achieve particular goals that you may have. So if you are feeling that this is drawing on and drawing on and drawing on, and you've had multiple conversations about this and you've tried to present your case in a very productive and kind way, and it's not going anywhere, then at that point, it might be necessary for you to take a step back and really evaluate the relationship and if it is working for you at this point and how to remove yourself from that environment. The third thing here is communication, right? So segueing off of what I just said, you want to discuss with your partner the way in which that makes you feel, right? There is nothing more uncomfortable than being in a relationship with somebody, being introduced to their family, and immediately feeling judged, feeling criticized. And we all have been there. I mean, most of us have been there, where we're faced with some level of discrimination. We're faced with some level of judgment. And you know what that is. You know that look. You know that silent verbal disagreement. We're hyper aware of it because we've experienced it many times before. And if you're experiencing it with your family, with the family of the individual that you have chosen to share your life with, that can be very difficult to process. But again, keep in mind, it's difficult for them to process as well. So again, you want to discuss with your partner how that makes you feel, but express it with compassion and understanding for their situation as well, while also prioritizing your own mental and emotional well-being. Understanding what about that triggers you and makes you feel a certain way. And once you're able to identify those things and once you're able to have those conversations, it's incredibly important to set boundaries, right? What are your needs and expectations moving forward? And for me, I would say, look, here are some things that you can consider. Number one, what is going to be the level of interaction that you have with his family or with her family, right? Number two, what are some safe words or physical cues that you can come up with to express that you've met your limit or you've reached your limit? So if you're interacting, if you're going out to a dinner, or if you guys are hanging out and you feel uncomfortable, you feel like the criticism and the judgment has become too much for you to handle, or in general, you just don't feel safe in that environment, but you're wanting to be supportive of your partner and you're wanting to try to grow a relationship with their family and it just isn't working, what physical cues are you willing to come up with, right? It's a safe word or a safe sign, so that your partner can read you and say, okay, they've reached their limit. Let's take a step back, or let's remove ourselves from the environment, or let's, get out of this uncomfortable place. And the third thing here is your partner's expectations about the level of interaction, right? So when you have a discussion with your partner about what your expectations are in regards to the level of interaction with their family, what is their expectation when it comes to the level of interaction? And my assumption here would be, if they have struggled with their family, with the level of acceptance and with them being homophobic, they probably don't want to be around their family that often, but they may feel obligated during certain circumstances or during certain times of the year, right? Holidays, birthdays, graduations, whatever the case may be. But it's very important that you guys have very clear communication and you set certain guidelines and boundaries so that moving forward, you don't argue with each other. There isn't disagreements between the two of you guys because you guys have already established how you're going to work through this moving forward, right? It's a team. Your you're creating a stronger bond with one another because you're agreeing upon something, or you're agreeing on something and you're moving forward in that agreement. Now, that doesn't take away the angst and the pain and the insecurities that your partner may be feeling because they aren't accepted by their own family. And that's obviously the shadow work and the work that they have to do with themselves. But it's also about you being a positive support system throughout that process. But again, make sure you are checking in with yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to make sure that you are aligned enough to be able to handle that. And if you know for yourself that that is something that you are incapable of handling, it's better to end the relationship sooner than drag it out. And then you start to have resentment and frustration and anger, and then the relationship unravels and it's no longer an amicable breakup. It might actually convert into a hostile breakup, and that is not what we want. If this is something that you are currently experiencing, if you've been in a relationship with somebody who has a homophobic family, maybe you have a homophobic family yourself, leave a comment down below. Let me know your experience. Tell me what worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, things that you recognize and realize now in hindsight, or that you realize now after watching this video that you may not have been aware of before. I love to have open dialogue and communicate and share stories. So make sure you're leaving that comment down below. Also, make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe button if this is your first time to the channel so that you can become part of our community. Again, I created this channel for you. I wanted a safe environment. I wanted a place where I can provide you with resources and tools and the knowledge to really empower yourself and realize that a healthy relationship is absolutely possible. I think that there is this stigma, this stereotype that queer individuals cannot have healthy relationships, and that is just utter bullshit. We can. It's about understanding the fundamentals. It's about doing the shadow work. It's about really becoming confident in who we are as an individual and accepting who we are in order to bring value to the table. And if that is something that you struggle with, if that is something that you are currently in the process of doing, right, you're on your journey, I'm more than happy to support you and to help you through any of those things. So if you'd like to book a one-on-one coaching session and have this discussion, I will provide a link for you in the description box down below just to make your life easier so you don't have to go searching for that. Again, my name is Danny, and I hope you guys are having an incredible day. I hope you found this video helpful. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you're leaving your comments down below, and I hope you're staying happy and healthy. I'll see you in the next video.